Red meat kills. You heard it in the news, read it in blogs, and probably seen it in documentaries. Cancer, type 2 diabetes, heart diseases. The list is scary, but here is the paradox. You come to a pediatrician and I tell you, it's time for a 6-month-old to start eating beef. So what am I doing? Trying to shorten a child's life? Not aware of the alternatives? Or did I just miss the last 20 years of research? Of course not. And what I'm about to show you might completely change how you feed your child. Today, let's break it down. What science actually says about red meat in children's diets, why it can be critically important, how to give it safely, and whether it can really be replaced. Support the channel, like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's go. Let's clear up one thing that confuses a lot of parents. Why are we so afraid of red meat? And is it really as dangerous as we've been led to believe? Let's quickly go over the basics, then get to the facts. Red meat is beef, pork, and lamb. Sometimes people also include chicken or turkey thighs because of their darker color and higher iron content, but officially they are still poultry. There is also processed meat that has been modified or partially prepared. Examples include sausages, ham, canned meat, and ready-made or semi-prepared meat products. Now here is where it gets important. This distinction between red and processed meat matters. Because processed meat is confirmed carcinogen, red meat, possible carcinogen. Meaning one is proven to increase cancer risk, the other might, with frequent consumption. Studies also show that in adults, high consumption of both is linked to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. Sounds alarming, but here is the key: high consumption and in adults. Did you know that we still don't have large high-quality studies on red meat safety in children? Almost everything we know comes from adult data, even though we've known for decades that this approach is flawed. Children are not small adults. Their bodies work differently. And this is where most nutrition advice for kids breaks down. Now here is the part that made me rethink my own attitude toward red meat. Research noticed potential risks, but for a long time they didn't separate red and processed meat. So we studied them together. In simple terms, we've been blaming two very different foods for the same problem. And that's a big issue. Because red meat cooked at home in a healthy way, we'll talk about it today, is not the same as a processed sausage with high salt, unhealthy fats, fried or deep fried. Only recently did we get large, reliable analyses looking at them separately. And the conclusion: the evidence against unprocessed red meat alone is weak. Does that mean red meat is safe? No. But it also means we may have been afraid of the wrong thing. What we do know is this: risk appears with very frequent consumption. For adults, we have numbers. For children, we don't. So what can we actually say? Harm in children is not proven. In adults, it depends on amounts and preparation. So should we avoid it, just in case? We can. But building a fully balanced diet without red meat is actually quite difficult. I say this as someone who has worked in children's nutrition for over 10 years. I might cover how to do it in a future video. Tell me in the comments if you'd like that. But now, let's talk about why pediatricians still recommend red meat, even with all this controversy. Let's shift into the world of an infant. Do you know what happens around 6 months? Their iron stores, the ones built up during pregnancy, run out. Literally, down to zero. And this is when many babies quietly become deficient, without parents even realizing it. Breast milk is amazing, but it contains very little iron. In the US, up to 77% of breastfed infants develop iron deficiency in the second half of infancy. That's exactly why at this age, if the child is otherwise healthy, complementary feeding is introduced to replenish those stores. Why does it matter? Iron is essential for brain development, and low iron early can affect cognition and behavior long term. I actually made a video on this, including how it can show up as tantrums. There is also energy. Without iron, cells literally can't function properly. Growth slows, immunity suffers. Guidelines are clear. Infants need iron-rich food starting at 6 months. And red meat is one of the best options. Why? Because it contains heme iron, the most absorbable form. Heme iron in red meat is present in much higher amounts than in white meat or fish, and it's absorbed several times better than plant iron, and that's critical for babies and toddlers. Because they are especially at risk for iron deficiency. We talked about it in the previous video. So for them, red meat is simply the easiest way to meet these needs. This is exactly why I always recommended it to parents. Think of it as the VIP version of iron. But red meat is not just iron. Red meat is basically a nutrient-dense package. It also provides zinc for immunity and growth, choline and B12 for growth and brain development. These are not extra nutrients. This is what the growing brain is built from. For an adult whose brain has already developed and maybe even started to shrink a little, just kidding. The risks associated with excess saturated fat can sometimes overweigh the benefits of red meat. But for a toddler who is building millions of neural connections every second, this is a completely different situation. So does that mean we should feed toddlers bacon and sausages and not worry? No. Let's talk about the most important part. How to give red meat to children safely. According to major guidelines, there are 3 simple rules. No processed meat. Choose real meat. Sausages, nuggets, dairy products. This is not about nutrition. Choose lean cuts. Children need protein, iron, zinc, not excess saturated fat. Safe cooking methods. No charring. Better stewing, boiling and steaming. It's often not the meat, it's how we cook it. You might be surprised, but a large part of the health risks associated with red meat is actually linked to how it's cooked. High heat cooking creates harmful compounds, and most studies didn't even account for this. And I learned a 4th rule from myself. Moderation. All risks are linked to overconsumption. So how much is okay? There is no exact number. However, in a typical balanced diet common in Europe or the US, most experts suggest from 1 to 2 times per week. If you are unsure, you can leave a comment with a few details. I'll pin what information I need, and I'll try to guide you. Let's sum it up. Red meat is not the villain we were told it is. But like many things in nutrition, context matters. Red meat for an adult and for an infant are 2 completely different things. Children need nutrients to build, adults to maintain. And now a question for you. What was your child's first meat? Or did you choose a vegetarian approach? Let's talk. I read everything. And see you in the next video. Kids by Science, where proven wellness for kids meets real life.